everyone, it's me, Rhea Peterson. Welcome back to my channel. Today I have a fun Thanksgiving prep for you. I'm going to be showing you some of the things that I like to prep in advance for Thanksgiving, like weeks in advance. And I'm also going to be sharing with you some fun dessert ideas and how I'm going to be setting my table. We are right in between Halloween and Christmas, and I am hosting Thanksgiving this year, so I want my home to feel like Thanksgiving when my guests come over. Upstairs is very much Christmas though. So if you are new here, I am so glad you're here. Again, my name is Rhea Peterson. I upload typically twice a week on Tuesdays and Saturdays, and I hope that you stick around. But otherwise, let's not waste any time. Let's get started. Well, I feel that nothing sets the mood more for Thanksgiving than setting your table. So that is what we are starting out with. For my centerpiece, I am just using this long basket that I got at Target. I added some greenery, pumpkins, and pine cones, and then I added these wooden acorns that I got at Home Goods a while ago, in addition to the LED candles that add a nice warmth to the table. For my place settings, I am doing these wicker chargers along with just my everyday plates. I have gray plates. I love their simplicity. I didn't want to bother with china. These can go straight into the dishwasher. And then napkins with napkin rings. Very simple, very easy to move when we play games. I love how it turned out. Okay, so there are typically 3 things that I make in advance for Thanksgiving, and that is stuffing, sweet potatoes, and cranberry sauce. And there are other things, like anything like casserole usually can be made in advance. There are a lot of ways to pre-make so much of your Thanksgiving dinner so that you can actually enjoy Thanksgiving on the day and spend time with your family and not be stuck on your feet in the kitchen all day. I'm going to be making those 3 items, plus I'm going to be doing a test run of 2 desserts. There's a pie recipe that I found that I have been dying to make, and I like a 50-50 success rate with pies. So I'd love to do a test run just to make sure it's delicious. And then my kids are not fans of pies, and so I was trying to think of a fun dessert that they could have that wasn't just like cake or chocolate chip cookies. And I came across a really fun idea of making sugar cookies but icing them to look like pies. And so that's what we're doing. I have already made my sugar cookie dough, and I'll talk about it more later, but that is something you can pre-make as well, is the cookies. Let's get started. We are starting with the cranberry sauce. This is one of Connor's favorites. I had never made homemade cranberry sauce until a few years ago, and I have never turned back. This recipe is delicious with the orange juice. You put some orange rind in it and a cinnamon stick. I've rinsed my berries and pulled out anything that was, not good. And you just get it all mixed together. The berries pop. It is so fun to make. I make this in a double batch, and I'm going to freeze 2 of the jars and keep one in the fridge just to make sure that it's good. And come Thanksgiving, I can just pull the jar out of the freezer. It will thaw really quickly and will be delicious. I keep a binder of recipes that I have liked over the years, and I have a whole section devoted to holiday, and I needed my stuffing recipe. I'm going to get all of my vegetables and fruit chopped up. I'm using this chopper. It's so handy. It saves so much time. Best purchase I've ever made for my kitchen. But I'm getting everything chopped up so that I can get the stuffing put together. Any recipe that has a good blend of savory and sweet is one that I am probably going to love, and this stuffing
is no exception. I love this stuffing. My mother-in-law made it before Connor and I were even married, and I've made it nearly every year since. It's got sausage and apple and cranberries. It's so delicious and it's so easy to make, and it's probably one of my favorite parts of Thanksgiving.
Another thing that I do to save time for Thanksgiving is I buy my stuffing mix, but then I use this and make it into something else. I don't follow the instructions on here. I get gluten-free stuffing mix. I get this one at Trader Joe's. It's really good. If you do something like this and you also want to make it for Christmas, though, they did not have this around Christmas time, so I stocked up. I bought a number of boxes so that I can also make stuffing for Christmas. There's a tip there. Stock up if you're gonna get this very specific item and you want it for Christmas as well. So I'm going to cook up my sausage and my vegetables and everything, get that going, and then just, make stuffing. I do like to use the seasoning packet that they send with that, so I am going to use that, but I've also just done my own seasonings as well, but that's just another way that I'm going to save time, and their blend is really delicious. So I'm going to start by cooking my meat. Nope, I'm gonna put an apron on first, and then I'm gonna cook my meat.
I like the convenience of making this stuff ahead of time too, because it doesn't need to be done all in one day. You can do it whenever it's convenient for you. And so I'm doing it in one day, but I could have easily just broken it up over a few weeks up until Thanksgiving. Once I get all of my ingredients mixed together, I do let it cool. There's no point in trying to rush to keep everything warm because you're making it in advance. So I kind of broke it up throughout the day. I made sure everything was cooled off. I am just mixing together these last few ingredients before I package everything up. I did double this recipe so that I could have 2 pans. This way I can ensure that we have leftovers, and that if we don't make it through everything, I can just keep one in the freezer and we can have it later on down the road. But I'm putting them in these pans. I get this big stack of pans like these at Costco, and they're really handy for taking meals to people, going to potlucks. I love the convenience of these. And to package it, don't be like me. I forgot to add the saran wrap on the top. So you'll want to put a layer of saran wrap on the top, make sure it's covered tightly, and then cover it in foil. It was getting chaotic in the evening. All the kids were home from school and I got a little distracted, but you'll put saran wrap on and then the foil, and then you can put it in the freezer. I like to use the Instant Pot to make my sweet potatoes. So once I wash them, I'm going to get them in there on top of the little rack that it comes with. I do stab them with a fork so that they'll cook evenly throughout. I don't want them to be mushy, so I cook them to the point of doneness to where they're still tender in the middle, but they don't just come out as complete mush, and they're so much easier to peel. So once I get everything in there, I just make sure that my ring is on there secured, and then I cook them for about 15 to 20 minutes. It really depends on how many I'm doing. I kind of went right in the middle there for 17 minutes, and they turned out perfectly. But once they're done, I do let them cool completely. Again, the convenience of not needing it ready the day of makes it so that you can take your time, have things cooled, and you're not burning your fingers. But once they are cool, I had thrown mine in the fridge for a bit. I'm going to peel them and slice them and make my sauce. I keep my sweet potatoes very simple, and I just do butter and brown sugar. Connor developed a nut allergy a number of years ago, and he can't have pecans anymore. So what I do is I brown butter to get a nutty flavor, and I add the brown sugar and get it to the point where it's trying to become a caramel. And then I toss it onto the sweet potatoes, the cold sweet potatoes, mix it up, and you get these nice crunchy bits. I had to put the sweet potatoes away pretty quickly because Connor kept eating them out of the pan. But my sweet potatoes turned out really nicely. They have a good bite to them still, but they're not raw. I'm browning my butter. I'm gonna get everything mixed in. I only used about half a cup of butter, a quarter cup of brown sugar, throw in a pinch of salt, get it all mixed in, and then you'll get these delicious little crunchy bits that are kind of like pecans. Well, to break things up a bit, I'm going to show you the plan for the kids' table. I got this roll of paper and I am going to put a few strips down the table just to give the kids something to do. They can write their names in their spots, they can draw a picture, they can play tic-tac-toe, just things to keep them interested, especially when they're starting to get bored and I don't want them to completely destroy my house. So I'm just using painter's tape to tape this to the table. And then I'm going to show you the fun little project we did with the kids. We made some adorable napkin rings for Thanksgiving and they had so much fun. Here are the supplies. The only other thing you need is a child. There's one. But I just have some different colors for tail feathers and I got this stack of different shades of brown for their bodies. I used the napkin rings for the adult table to measure out about how big I needed them. And then I'm just making little napkin rings. I did an accordion fold so that I could cut enough strips. I stacked them a little bit. I will do the same thing for the feathers, except I will cut out a feather shape. Don't judge my crafting abilities. I'm not great at cutting things apparently, but we used tape, glue, construction paper. I didn't really try to overthink it. We just had fun with it and my kids really enjoyed the project. I did find these tiny little googly eyes, which kind of took it over the top, but you could easily just use like white and black paper to make eyes. I grabbed my handy s'mores container. I'm adding this fun little scavenger hunt to also give the kids something to do, throwing in colored pencils and crayons, and it's a simple table. Hopefully it will keep the kids engaged, and I really love how it turned out.
Okay, so this dough was really simple to make, and I will link the recipe in the description box below, along with anything else that I can link. What I did to make this a little more Thanksgiving themed is I added some pumpkin pie spice to my sugar cookie dough. I only did about a teaspoon of it. It smells really, really good, and it should taste delicious. This recipe also suggested rolling out your dough and chilling it that way, which I think is a really good idea. I did have some sticking though, but it could have been me. I might not have floured my surface well enough, or I should have let it sit for a few minutes. But that's a really great way to save time without having it thaw for a little bit before you can roll it out. So I love this idea.
my cookies were cooled, I made some buttercream frosting and colored them to be different pies. This is a cherry pie. I am not great with a piping bag, but it doesn't matter. It will still be delicious regardless of what it looks like. So I did the cherries. This is the crust. I promise that is the crust. It might not look like it, but it's a crust. I put a lattice over the top. They turned out fine. And then I did a pecan and a pumpkin pie. They got better the more of them that I made, but they still all turned out okay. They were fine. They tasted delicious. I made half the dough and froze the other half, and I also froze the rest of the buttercream so I can make more. I could also just freeze these cookies the way that they are, but we had to try them. They were delicious and my kids loved them.
Okay, it's pie time. I have my pie dish of choice. Again, I am not freezing this one. This is just for funsies. Kind of a test run, a pie test run. I am going to be using a pre-made pie crust, but I do need to par bake it. So I've got my pie beans right here. I'm gonna get this laid out into the pie crust. I have my oven preheating to 400 degrees, and I have some fun cookie cutters, which I will show you. We are going to decorate our pie so that it looks beautiful, I hope. Again, I'm like 50-50 on pie success, so fingers crossed.
Here are my cookie cutters. Aren't they adorable? I love them. I am making an apple butter pie. It's not dissimilar to a pumpkin pie. You just swap the pumpkin for apple butter, and I'm so excited to eat it.
Not big enough.
Thankfully, these come in a 2-pack, so I just took the other one, cut it in half, added it to the other dough, and I made my pie dough big enough. The recipe that I'm using does come with a crust recipe, but I just opted to keep things simple and use the pre-made crust. This one is glutinous. The recipe is actually a gluten-free recipe, which my stomach would probably appreciate more, but a little bit of gluten for me is not going to be the end of the world. And I do need to try the pie to make sure that everyone else will like it. This pie, it's more of a custardy pie, so if you wanted to make it in advance, I would cook it first and then freeze it. If you were doing like a fruit pie, you could get away with not cooking it before you needed it, but this one is a custard. So I'm just gonna get all of my ingredients put together. I'm going to bake my pie. It is going to be delicious. And I completely 100% recommend making a test pie before Thanksgiving, just to make sure that, you know, the flavor profile is just right. Other half of my pie dough to make the decorations for my pie. I'm just making little pie dough cookies. I got these cookie cutters from my mother-in-law. She makes the most beautiful things, especially pies, and she uses these cookie cutters to decorate her pies. So I was trying to channel her. I hit the jackpot with mother-in-laws. She's wonderful. But I'm going to get these baked. I froze my crust with egg white wash on it for a little bit, and now I am crumpling up some parchment paper. I'm gonna put that on top to pour my pie beans in, which are just pinto beans that I've used to weight my pies. And then I've just used them over and over again. I hope that's okay. Again, I'm not a pie person. But here are my little decorations. They turned out so cute. I'm going to coat them in cinnamon and sugar, and once my pie crust is cooled, I'm going to make the filling. Another reason I like to make things in advance, aside from it just making the day of a lot more simple, is you kind of get that excitement earlier. It kind of extends that holiday feel for me. There are so many associations made with like smells and memories for me. So being able to experience this early just makes it that much more fun. I always get kind of bummed when holidays are over, just because that the build up to the holiday is what makes it so exciting. So this kind of gives you that Thanksgiving feel a little bit longer, which I love. Well, this pie was so easy to make and it was so delicious. I forgot to get a shot of it being cut, but turned out really, really good. If you do decorate your pie, but you want to make it in advance, I would save the decorations for the day of so they don't get soggy while the pie thaws. But otherwise, this pie was so easy.
Okay, I'm getting my napkins out and I wanted to show you my paper plates cupboard, my disposable cutlery. I'm going to show you this cupboard. I did this last year and it has been so awesome. That's where I keep my paper plates and everything. I was coming to get my napkin holder and I'm also taking stock of what I need. So I keep all of the cutlery in this. I used to just keep them in the boxes or in like a plastic bag, but I was constantly repurchasing things and not knowing how much I had. So this gives me a good gauge. I know I'm gonna need forks. Probably be fine on knives. I feel like those are the things you use the least, but I do need forks. And then plates look okay. I'm going to need some more cups for sure. But I wanted to grab my napkin holder and fill it with napkins. Hurts to have extra napkins.
Well, after a few final touches for Thanksgiving, I am pretty much ready to go until the day of. I hope that you enjoyed this video. I hope that it gave you ideas on ways that you can simplify your holiday to where you can really just enjoy the time that you spend with the people that are around you and be able to relax. I love the convenience of making things in advance. It's so easy and reheating it is so simple as well. I am so glad that you were here. Leave a comment on what some of your favorite holiday dishes are. I so love hearing from you. And if you're not already, please consider subscribing. I have a lot of fun Christmas themed videos coming up and they will include food. But thank you again so much for being here. I so appreciate it and I will see you next time. Bye.